Hello, everybody, and welcome to Indie Advocates on Con. And we got some cool graphics by one of the guests on the show today. You guys are seeing them already, showing them off. Look at that beautiful blue background. And introduce yourself, Josh. Tell them who you are and how they can follow you. Oh, my camera's not on. There we go.
Welcome aboard. Well, hey, guys. My name is Josh Lyman. I've been in comic books for the last 12 years, if not more. As well as working the convention circuit, promoting for fan art, as well as doing illustration. You guys can find me at Art of Josh Lyman on most social media, preferably Instagram, and then, of course, my Facebook art page.
And we are going to have more guests. Of course, I am the underground indie advocating devil. We got some cool new looks for you guys. We're updating all of our looks in this month and in May because this is our anniversary months. For those who don't know, believe it or not, 5 years of indie advocating. And, of course, we're going bigger now. We're going to be more about comics. So just don't be a fan, but become an advocate for comics. Today's topic, Josh is in here with us for merch that works versus merch that misses the mark for creators. So merch, of course, is merchandise. For those who don't know about the slang I'm using, the cool kid words. So, Josh, let me ask you, since you're on the show right now, we will have two other people joining us in just a little bit. Josh, what kind of merchandise do you take to your shows with you, and how is it helping you as a creator stay afloat?
Well, thank you for asking. So normally with Comic-Cons, up until recently, I would carry fan art of posters. I would carry metal collectibles of art in different sizes. I'd carry my art books even, which are just, proof, hey, of me working on commissions and showing random publications I've worked in and things like that. And then I'd also bring originals. But depending on the show, every once in a while, you don't have enough space. Sometimes you end up with a 4-foot space or a 6-foot space or even an 8-foot space. And sometimes it just boils down to travel as well. You have to figure out what works for your area, and you don't want to oversaturate your content at the same time. You don't want to be sitting here and going, look, I have this same piece, but it's in metal, and I have it smaller, and I have it bigger. But, yeah.
That's an interesting question. I know metal's the whole new rage. Why do you think metal has gotten so big suddenly? Like, out of nowhere. Well, it was getting big until, of course. But why do you think it was getting big? Do you really think it's that much better of a quality? Is it helping take the art form up a notch?
Well, whenever you're printing on a different medium, be it, hey, we're printing lanyards or printing on metal or any of the other options that you've seen at Comic-Con where somebody like prints on canvas, it always comes down to is it's something that stands out. It's something that catches the eye, and it's slightly different. One of the perks specifically about metal is that it's waterproof, and especially during the last several years, we've had a lot of issues with like weather, especially in places like Florida. And so that is a huge element about the metal printing is that it's waterproof. If you spill something on it, obviously, or, hey, you get some food or something like that, you can typically wash it off, just by, taking a sponge, and you're not going to damage it because the process is sublimation. It basically turns the ink into a gas and it permeates the material.
Cool.
Yeah, and then the other benefit of it is like, hey, you don't have to worry as much about it bending or warping. Yes, every once in a while somebody may drop it at a funny angle, or it goes thrown across the room. But if you have the right tools, you can typically put it back into shape without damaging the piece itself.
I didn't realize it was that great in depth. Now, let me ask you. What's the price points on those? Is there a little more profit with something like that, or less profit when you're going to a new medium like metal? And what
it kind of depends. Well, thank you for asking. It kind of depends on a lot of different things. In this case, for example, it comes down to size and how much you can carry. A lot of artists who carry with metal, they'll typically they'll drive to a show just because of the sheer amount of weight restriction. When you're flying, you have restrictions of 50 to 100 pounds, depending on who you're flying with, unless you want to pay more money for that expense. And so everyone has their own little thing. There are several people who only do metal. There are some people who do variants in metal where they'll change the colors. I myself, I carry a completely different product line in my metal. It's one of those things where it's like it's a little bit of an upsell, but it's something that it really helps lead to be like, hey, if you had this in a print, I would totally buy it because the print is slightly cheaper or it's bigger, but it also allows more collectability for what I choose to use for that product.
And that makes sense. And One of the people I know who does some extra stuff is our good friend Luke Stone. Luke, what is going on? Introduce yourself and welcome to the program today.
Hi, I'm Luke. I'm happy to be in the program today.
I think I woke Luke up from a nap.
Welcome aboard, Luke.
Yeah, I was hanging out with the dog. Yeah, me and the dog. The dog crawled up on my lap, and I was like, yeah, I got some time. And then, boop, out.
Did you see the cool new nifty looks we have? Thanks to Josh.
I do. I see that.
Backgrounds. Check it out. Here, I'm gonna. Sorry, Josh, I cut you off right when I was showing it off. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say, I was like, yeah, when Varian comes in, it'll shrink us all down and scale us down, so it'll fit better.
And yeah, I saw he'd show me how it would actually zoom in and all that stuff. I don't have time to play with. He did for me, which is awesome. I always
warm up stuff. But thank you.
You're welcome. So, do you do metal? I know you were doing holographic stuff. That's actually why I was calling on you to be on this show today with your cards, right?
Yeah, I do different kind of paper options for covers and for cards and things. And so I've actually got some of those things to show off.
It's a good idea.
I do a lot of, when it comes to branding, there's a lot to, there's kind of a lot to consider. For a long time, I used to be in a band, and I used to, kind of play rock music and different kinds of things like that. And one of the things that is always big about a brand is about a band is having your logo on T-shirts and merch for people to wear. Like it's super ideal to have all of that stuff. Because the more things that you can get with your logo on it and have people wear on their bodies, the more advertising that you have. And so we started out with comics, just not thinking that way and just thinking, well, let's just get a book and different kinds of books and things like that. And so one of the things we did was we moved into trading cards so that we would have, just little, we kind of started out with the Trash Man. And then you've got information on the back about Trash Man and stuff like that, So you've got these different cards, trading cards that you did. And then we started moving into holographic cards or cards with like kind of a different look and feel to it. And so I've actually got 4 different kind of papers here to look at for these cards. And so we've got like a regular like brushed metal look that is pretty nice. It steps it up a little bit, but not quite like some of these other ones here. Got another one here that's just kind of the metal sheen.
What's the effect on something like that?
What's the cost effect?
Like, are you having to buy in big bulk to get these cards made? Like, for a new creator, without actually spilling the secret sauce, how are you able to do this, make it affordable, and why is this a good idea?
Especially with something like trading cards, it's super affordable. Like you can go, and I think most outlets, you can get a standard trading card for about 17 cents. So it can become a dollar upsell from that. You can get something like this from the right printer for about 20 cents a piece. So, you've kind of got like different, like once you start getting into a little more expensive papers, but like the square blinkies or whatever, and then like the sparkles, but where the real stuff comes in is when you look into like something like this one's called, I think they call it a lava cover. And so I just got an order printing for all like 6 of my covers in different metal sheen type papers and stuff. So those kind of things, what it is, now for a comic, it brings the cost of the comic up quite considerably. So like a normal comic would cost me $3.99. That doesn't begin to scratch the surface for the print cost of something on that particular kind of material. Now it's not an actual metal, but it looks, it looks nice. Those standard comic, a 20 to 24 page comic would probably cost about $5-ish for that. The more pages, the higher the print cost, because you're still paying for the print on the inside, but the cover itself upsells that by about. So if it would typically cost like $1.90, you're looking at probably another $4 to $4.50 just to add on the paper for one book. And so that goes into a whole other realm of kind of like super collectible items. But when you can do things like a mini poster with a cool paper,
Yep.
it becomes super collectible, and people want that. Anything that, and I'm guilty of this too. If it sparkles or shines, I want it.
Yeah, it's
It's just
dynamic.
me.
It gives it more sizzle.
Yeah, I just like that stuff.
Let me ask you both a question. This is I might be different because you're both artists. As a writer, a lot of times 11 by 17s don't sell as well when you're not the artist. I do think people want to buy that. Do you think some of these, and in particular, which ones do you think will work well for anyone versus this might just be a writer thing or an artist thing? And what do you suggest not getting? So we haven't gotten there. What things would you suggest never getting for new creators? Because a lot of new creators are going to be watching this right now and going, well, should I make my brand new comic an entire game set of cards and buy each one? Like, let's take down the expectations. What do you think, Josh?
Well, thank you for asking. I think it's one of those things where I touched briefly on the concept of over marketing or over merchandising a product. And in that case, it's one of those things where it's like one of the things we hadn't talked about is stickers. And especially with indie comics, one of the really big appeals for that is that a sticker is small, it's light, and it can just slide right in there. You can slide it into the top loader. Exactly. And you got a shiny metallic one, good to go. And you can mass produce them. You can produce them at home. You can produce them through distributors in different sizes. And there's a lot of pros and cons to that, pun intended, for conventions. When you have that merchandise, it's the same as if you're printing on spot foils or if you're printing on metal cards, anything like that. It's going to be how much are you carrying and how much are you investing at the very beginning. You don't want to sit there and have the same art in a sticker, at least in my personal opinion. You don't want to have the same art that's in a sticker that's also available as a hollow foil, that's also available as a metal card, that's also available as a poster, because you take away from all of your sales in that case. Like if you can change one thing, even if it's something as simple as, hey, I have branding with the name on it for the sticker, or I have branding for the comic on the back, like the Luke's trading cards, where he has like the bios and the strength stats and things like that on the back. When someone buys the poster, that info is not on the card. But there's a fine line between promotional material and merchandise that you're going to be selling. So that's always another topic.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess in short, I would say, I'd say one of the biggest cons is figuring out how much you're willing to invest when you start. Because some things are going to work in some markets and some things are going to not work in other markets. I've had events that I go to where all I sell is nothing but originals. And then I'll have other shows where all I sell is one other of my products. And it'll just be, I'm really glad I brought that one product because otherwise I would be hosed.
And Varian, do you want to introduce yourself? We're talking about the things that people shouldn't get. So go ahead and introduce yourself before we get into it.
I'm Varian Grant, and people should not get on my bad side now. I've been doing comics since 2008. Been publishing comics since 2007. Wow, long time. And founder of Indie Vote Media, co-owner of Last Call Comics. All that good stuff. I'm a comic book artist sometimes. Sometimes I draw books. Sometimes I write them. I'll do a little bit of both. I'm happy to be here with you today, though, and talk to these fine people about what they shouldn't do and what they should do when it comes to doing Kickstarters.
All right. And sorry about that. That's me. Real quick, what do you think, Luke? Because it's your turn.
Yeah. Oh, about what a new creator should and shouldn't get for their for branding their stuff at a table. Oh, yep. Well, that's I don't think that I don't think that you can not, like, there's not too much that you can try. I think that, you should try what's going to work for you. Josh said that he doesn't like to have the same pieces of art for the same stuff. Well, what I've learned is that there are a couple of pieces of art that sell better than others. And since I'm doing all of my stuff is an IP, I don't get, because when I have to sign up for what my table is, I don't do any any art for anything else. I just have just my hybrid stuff or anything else that, you know, my name's on. And so you can be limited. And as a first time creator that goes out there, you could be very, very limited on what you have. So you might only have 1 or 2 really nice images. So I suggest, you know, doing those images in a 2 different size posters. I usually do an 11x17 poster and then the smaller size poster like this, like a mini poster, having those available. And then allowing, and I usually try to add something free to, you know, so people want to buy it. Another thing that's really cheap that has really worked out for me, and this gets me a lot of names on my mailing list. So the only way I have these little buttons, like, so I have some star-crossed buttons, little trash man button, which, you know, that's similar art. That's the same art that's from the trading cards. But the only way you can get those buttons is if you sign up for my mailing list. And so you sign up, you get a free button.
And that's, sorry.
Yeah. And so I think that, you know, you can try things like that. Print items are always cheaper than trying to get physical items. You can get things like this. We're just trying this out now, but it's like, I don't know if you can see it in the light, but it's a hybrids phone grip, you know? So yeah. So I've got a black one on the back of my phone now. So it's like the little phone grip thing. And so, yeah, it's neat. It's kind of a gimmicky thing. Teenagers like them. They weren't real expensive. You know, they cost me about $2 a piece to make.
Let me ask you a question. Can you hear me, Luke?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask you a question, because again, this is designed not necessarily just for us. Would you really suggest a new creator getting that? Because there are a finite amount of things that we can travel with, because some of these creators will be getting on airplanes. Do you think it's really worth it to get something like that to travel with?
I think that if you're limited, if you don't have a lot of books to sell, if you don't have a lot of titles and you need to fill out your table, I think that filling it out with stuff can be better than filling it out with nothing at all. You know, so even if most of the new creators that are out there are probably not going to be jumping on a plane to get to a convention, they're probably going to be going to a convention that's right down that's probably within driving distance from them. Now, I know, Rob, you're different, but you're different.
I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
Book on the road, like I was like Stan Lee and expected the lines around the block.
So, I mean, but again, here's something cheap that you can get. Like, it was like $56 for 300 of these silicone bracelets. You can get these things, get your book's title or even your like creator name put on there or something, you know, and give these things out, or you sell these things for $1, you're making a little bit of money, but it's something that you've got so that you can fill out that space a little bit. Now, if you are an artist, I always suggest having your original work out there in a portfolio, or draw. Like when I first started, I didn't have a whole lot of stuff on my table, but I draw digitally. So what I would do is my backdrop, instead of using a black backdrop, I would use a white one. And I brought a little tiny projector that I had bought from Brookstone, and it was really cool. And so I just hooked that up to the computer and projected my screen up on the thing behind me, and I would draw, and it would attract people, and then I would sell my book because like, oh, well, I'm actually drawing issue 2 right here. So here's issue 1, you know, like that kind of stuff. So it really worked out well that way, but it's about drawing that attention.
Good, Josh.
Yeah, and Luke's absolutely right. And what I was going to say a minute ago is that Luke had mentioned he comes from the band merchandising side of things, and that's absolutely true. You want to get your branding if you're focusing on your own title or your own creation. Absolutely, yeah. If you're trying to advertise yourself as well as your title, then that's a trickier fence. But yeah, it comes down to is like you got to choose. Do you want to give these away as free as part of your merchandising and marketing expenses? You know, hey, sign up for the mailing list. You're absolutely right. That's a great promotion in that case. But you'll end up with a lot of people who they just show up at the show and they just want freebies. And so they'll come in and be like, oh, let me grab this. Oh, let me grab this. They just come in and they grab nothing but all the free stuff. And then they go, oh, well, maybe I'll come by and look at it later. I think it's one of the more disheartening things when you're walking around a show and suddenly you see something that you were giving away for free just on the floor, you know, with multiple feet prints on it, you know, as far as that's concerned. And, you know, it's just one of those things where it's like if you're just starting out and so your first or maybe your 5th show, sometimes it just comes down to your budget.
Yeah. Oh, I never give anything away for free unless they're buying something. So it's like you buy something, you get something for free. But usually I use it for upsells. And so, I mean, that really helped because, you know, we've got this guy named Ken Keller that's with our comic group. and he didn't have much, so he had T-shirts and books made, and so he was selling a T-shirt and a book, for his comic at one price, and so he was able to sell like 90 comics over the course of a weekend. But he sold it was a T-shirt comic combo, and so that went really well. And now he's got 90 people walking around with Red Talon shirts on, and so now it's he's got 90 walking billboards, plus he sold 90 comics. That's a heck of a way to do it. The trick is just to be creative. What can you put your character or your logo on, or if you're an artist that's drawing stuff at a convention, what can you do to make you stand out from someone else? I tabled probably 3 or 4 tables down from this guy who was doing basically pinup work, and he did Punisher and Venom and all these guys, but he did it on glass. And so it was really cool. And what he did, it really stood out from everybody else that was there. I mean, there was a lot of talented artists, but what he did really stood out. And he sold a lot that weekend.
All right, Varian, you're like the king of the extra merch. Like, I've seen your table, and you travel great distances. Do you ever regret bringing so much stuff? Because I know there was a point in my career. Well, I mean, just trying to keep track of stickers when I have so many books now is a pain in the ass, let alone trying to upsell a pin. I just don't feel like I have the bandwidth at a busy show to do that. Slower show, sure. You want those extra add-ons. But for me, busier shows, it's like, I want to sell the comics. I want to get right to it, get them in their hand, and send them on their way. But like you guys said, Josh especially, you put a sticker down, some kid's going to grab it thinking it's free.
Yeah.
You drop a pin, they're going to grab it thinking it's free. And now you're also spending time as a security guard. And I've got with all covers, I can put out over 40 different books at a given time. It's a lot to watch, but that's nothing compared to your table. So I'm curious about your feedback on this.
When I first started, the reason why we had so much merch, or the reason why we built so much merch up, is because when my first show I went to, I found out from my printer that my book was going to be late. So I had a show booked. I wasn't going to have a comic there. And so I ran out, and I freaked out and tried to find what I could put on the table that fit with our brand. And luckily, we were Last Call Comics, so I had all these flyers. But I think we made mugs in the beginning. We did our own custom mugs, and they were all handmade by us. We got stencils. What is it called? It's that etching cream. I forget what it's called, but we used that on the mugs, and we were able to sell the mugs. People bought those up, and then other things we started adding more merch because I realized quickly, oh my goodness, we've got one book. That's it. So we started adding other things and trying to make sure that we were building the company. I have this weird philosophy. I know a lot of people don't agree with it, but if you ever notice, Marvel will push a character, but Marvel will push that character kind of based on the Marvel branding. So I tried to do that. I tried to push the Last Call brand. So Tipsy, and because here's the thing, Catharsis might not be your favorite comic. The Begotten, Jeremiah Cross, these might not be your favorite comics, but maybe you like the Last Call brand, or you like one book that we have. So I tried to, we made Tipsy plushies, little plush dolls of our mascot Tipsy, and they came in 2 different versions, one with a beer, one without a beer, because we found these little. He's holding a little beer mug, and I realized that kids might not want to buy that kid a plushie of holding a beer. So, hello, Sarah, and it was I think for us, we fly when we drive a lot of places, and it's because we have so much stuff. That does deter, sometimes I don't want to do a 2-day drive, but if the con is worth it, okay. I definitely, though, can tell you, even when the cons are worth it, and even when we sell a bunch, I regret bringing that stuff across, packing it in, loading it back in, unpacking it, doing inventory. And the other thing about that is, and I'll be quick with this one, is that some of that stuff sells out a lot quicker than others. We were very early on. We jumped into the fidget spinner craze very early on, well, they were gone very quickly. Will I re-up on that now? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Wait a minute. Weren't the fidget spinners the solving for everything? Everything was going to be cured. If you had ADHD, it was cured. How could this cure have gotten away from us?
Yeah,
How could you not have them at your table anymore?
Yeah, ours are bottle openers on the other side. They were cool, but it was pushing the Last Call brand and not any particular comic. But we've got some other things. We've got our various types of mugs, glassware, T-shirts. We try to put the comics on the T-shirts, and we have a Last Call Comics T-shirt. I would say from anything heavy and anything that's not anything under $20. But free stuff. I mean, we have free stuff, and like I think Luke or it was either Josh that said, free stuff can be bad because if people come to your table and they want the freebies. My very first company, I got a ridiculously good deal on T-shirts. The T-shirts were $1, nice. And the printing was free. I had a friend who did screen printing, and he screen printed all these shirts for me. So I figured, well, heck, I've got 50 shirts here that are screen printed. I'll just give them away at the con. Well, I thought people were going to take 1 or 2 T-shirts. We had a gentleman. He got one. Can I get one for my wife? Sure. He got another one. And he leaves. And then 5 minutes later, he's back at the end of the table because we got 2 tables where he thinks no one can see him, trying to find other size. And I had a staff member at the table say, hey, sir, you already got 2 shirts. What do you need? Oh, I was just looking for another size. You got 2 already. I mean, they're free, but you're not going to take, 5 and 6 of them. I would definitely I would consider if I had, like right now, everything I do the plushies. I try to keep those in supply. The flash drive beer mugs, I try to keep those in supply. And obviously our drinkware and T-shirts. Posters are nice. Posters, not prints. I know Josh has heard this. I don't have any room for any more print. There's no more room on my wall. No. No. That's it for me.
All right. I will say this, though, for every creator, and I want to be genuine. These gentlemen might have figured out how to do it. But my advice for new creators is always this. Don't get a lot of knickknacks. Most of the time, for most of the creators I've spoken to, Jaxie Shush, they wind up with a tub of this stuff that they never get rid of. And it's a loss. Every time you spend $1, you have to figure out how is that dollar making you money. Because that's the whole point. If it's a business card, print a lot, yes, all at once. I completely agree with that. But don't hand them to every person. You're going to, like Josh said, they're going to wind up on the floor. And yes, it's just 2 cents. What do I care? If you have that mentality, you're going to get burnt. Remember to think like a millionaire. Millionaires clip coupons when they can. They buy in bulk. They figure out a way to make money off of everything they do. They don't do giveaways. There's not a millionaire in the world who does a giveaway. Think about all those big businesses out there. Target. Do you get anything for free at Target? No, it's free with purchase. See? It's free with registering. It's always something. They have found a way to monetize the movement that you're doing. And I know Varian's done that with his branding of the Last Call comics. And Luke's done that by putting their stuff on it because, yes, that could then become an advertising platform. T-shirts. A quick lesson about T-shirts because no one's brought it up. I'm surprised too much. T-shirts are a great way to get advertised, a horrible way to make money if no one knows your brand. So if no one knows who you are, they're not going to run to get your T-shirt unless your T-shirt's badass. It has to be one of those things that looks beautiful and they don't care what it says or redirects to. Like the Free Hugs and Spank shirt, I can get people to wear that all day long and I'm just making money selling that shirt. But when I had even the Grim Reaper sold well. But when I put art on it, and I even put my own logo on it, because it said Fetish Babies, that made people pause and go, whoa, I don't know if I want to walk around with that. So understanding what you're doing matters too. So what was the biggest mistake you guys have ever made as far as merchandising? What would be the one thing that personally you were like, oh, I cannot believe I did that looking back on it? We'll start with Josh and just go around the circle.
I was going to say, I was like, man, I might need a minute.
We'll move on to Luke. We'll come back.
Yeah. My biggest mistake was my first con out. I thought, I'm going to sell 100 of these books. And so, as a small creator, you can print on demand. And I totally suggest that you do that. Don't go in debt trying to print, 1,000 copies of a book that you don't know that you're going to sell. Be smart about your inventory levels, because when you're at this level, no one really cares about first, second, third, fourth printings. No one cares. And I went out and I was like, oh, well, I need to have 100 books on hand. And so I went and I bought 100 books. And at the time, there was not a printer that was really reasonable. So I wound up spending close to $3 or $4 per book to get some books printed through. I think it was Kablam at the time. And so, man, did I lose my butt on that. That book never sold. I wound up leaving the project too. And so to this day, I've still got unsold copies of a book that no one frigging wants in my closet that are worth about $3 or $4 a piece to me. And that was probably my biggest mistake. And I've learned a lot then, especially on inventory levels. No matter what you do, no matter what you print up, if it's going to be swag, if it's going to be some kind of merch, if it's going to be some kind of an add-on, and like Rob said, don't give anything away. Like it's free with something, with purchase or with, signing up for the mailing list, but don't go nuts on that stuff. Get small quantities. I can go into a con, even with all the stuff that I've got, with one tote in a cart. So it's easy for me to handle. And my goal is sell out of as much of that stuff as I can in the 2 or 3 days that I'm there. My hope is always to, because normally I can't stay for a Sunday. Or if it's a 3-day weekend, I might get 3 of them all 3 days, but I definitely get 2 of the days. My goal is to move as much of that stuff as I possibly can. And those little things, they're low cost, but man, it'll help me move a lot of books.
For me, the biggest folly that I had was everyone here knows, and we constantly make jokes that I have booth girls, and I decided very early on to put the girls on a flyer, and with the comic on one side, the girl on the other side. What I figured was these guys would pick up these flyers for the Spank Bank but they always had this comic on the other side of it. And I remember this guy came to my table and he's grabbing the flyers, and we had 3 different ones. And he's grabbing the flyers and he said, "How much are they?" And he's reaching for his wallet. And I'm like, "The flyers are free." "Are they? Great." And he throws them in his bag, and he, I think he bought a comic and he left. And I thought to myself, those wheels got to turning. And I said, he was willing to pay for those flyers because it had the girls on it. So foolishly, I decided, well, I know what I'll do. I'll make 11 by 17 prints of all the girls, and I'll sell them. And I did that. And I still have a majority of them. So that was one of the bigger mistakes that we made. I have a majority. I mean, not that many, but I mean, that's money that I could have spent elsewhere. And, I don't think I'd have to check with the wife, but I don't think they made their money back even still. And we get a really good price on our 11 by 17 prints, but I'm not sure they made their money back. The other thing that was a big folly for me was I think I misjudged the market a little bit on our hats. We have Last Call Comics hats. They're embroidered. They're gorgeous. And we got 2 designs. We got the classic logo and the new logo. And whenever I remember I gave Randy a bit of a heart palpitation when he realized what I was doing. My hats cost about, is it $35 to make?
Jesus.
For our hats?
Sorry.
Our hats are $35.
Hats are expensive.
Yeah.
The make, yeah.
No, I agree. They are.
Yeah,
That's what I'm like.
Yeah, they're about $35 to make.
Yeah, I'd have been like, nope.
We have a stack of them, but do you know how much I sell them for?
20.
We've sold them for less. We sold them for $10 to $15. So
ouch.
What you guys understand is I'm taking a loss on every hat that I'm selling, a huge loss, a loss that makes most people who look at that say, "What the hell are you doing?" I mean, I'm just happy to have our brand out there on someone's head, but at the same time, I'm taking a big loss on that. But I'm also, I always try to figure, well, I'm making money in this end. So maybe it's, this is paying for that. But you start doing all type of mental gymnastics when you're a poor businessman.
It's because I'm from New York and I drive a little faster.
I was like, I can't talk. Varian's seen me drive.
Sweet Jesus.
I also know how to pack Varian stuff better than Varian does.
Yeah.
But that's another topic for another time.
Josh, did you make mistakes?
Oh yeah, I've made a few. I had to think about it though. I was like, how do I phrase these? But I mean, I think the number one thing, I think we've all kind of covered it before, but having a messed up deadline when it comes to production. Like you think it's going to arrive in time and you're like, it's perfect. I got an extra 2 days. I got a 2-day window to go through everything and make sure it's good to go. And then it doesn't show up. And so suddenly you got to do print on demand at a local retail printing place that's 4 or 5 times as much. Or you try out a new printer and print on demand and the colors just come out terrible. I've done some merchandise that I just wanted to try because I was doing a playing card motif and I did playing cards and I did a couple of decks and the prints came in late and then they came in on the wrong, they were just completely not set up the way I had sent them the print files. They had decided that they wanted to blow them up and make them bigger and fit them. And it was like, it cut off the core of the artwork. And, I learned my lesson with those. I was like, never going to do those again. And then I discovered some products that were great, but just cost wise, just didn't work out. I think when it comes to marketing and branding, and this is just my personal opinion, you can have some really cool things. You can have USB flash drives. You can have buttons. You can have pins. You can poker chips. That seems to be something that's very popular right now in the indie comics, additional Kickstarter goals kinds of things. But at the same time, it really just comes down to is the boring side of being a creator and trying to make money on your brand. You have to approach it from the business perspective. Yes, you may want to see your thing on a pencil case and t-shirts and, yoga pants, and more power to you. I guarantee you, if you made some yoga pants, they would sell. It's just, once again, you got to find your audience and you got to make sure you got the right quality and that you're not spending an arm and a leg. If you're rocking $35 a head for hats, that's when you suddenly start going, okay, can I buy these hats myself somewhere else and find somebody who's got a distributor for, custom sewing, go to Lids and see if they can produce on each one of these for me, kind of deal.
Yeah.
But, it just, sometimes you just have to approach when you want to create merchandise, as that. And then, I think that's pretty much it. The only other mistake I've really made was, I invited a cosplayer to help out at my table. And then suddenly it became, she wanted to advertise and bring her own stuff and sell some props and sell some posters and t-shirts that she and her boyfriend made and suddenly would run off. And I was sitting there people are asking me how much her stuff is. And I'm like, I'm not trying to sell you her stuff. I'm trying to sell my stuff.
With the hats, one of the problems I had was that we would go get our own stuff and we'd go get them made, elsewhere. Some place we try to get local near us. And I found a couple things. One was that the embroider place we took to have our hats embroidered and most of our stuff done. They were trying to sell me on getting the books from their catalog. They even showed me where it was going to be much cheaper for me to order the product from their catalog. They'll bring it in, they'll do it. I don't have to bring them hats. The problem is where I'm getting my hats from is much better than the quality they already produce. Exactly. So, and I don't know if you guys touched on that yet, but if you're going to sell anything, if you're going to even give anything away, make sure it's a quality product.
It's got to be quality.
Yeah.
Why am I all rashy from this free t-shirt?
Yeah. Make sure it's quality. We pre-wash stuff.
I know you did. I'm sure you did.
I know we pre-wash. The hats are a good quality of hat. Not as fancy as the hybrids hat that Luke is currently wearing. Our hats are one color, but what's funny too? We had to switch. We actually have sides and snapback hats, and then it's funny. Our hats have gone through this metamorphosis. At first, it was all about the flex fit, and then people started wanting snapback and then fitted, and I hate fitted. I have fitted caps, but I hate purchasing
Variant, you are making me like have an anxiety attack about your stock right now. To figure out, like, I want an interaction I'm from a retail background, so I always look at it like, how quickly can I get what they want in their hands and get to the next person? I don't want to ask someone their size. I don't want to know what size their head is. I don't want to go through my inventory. Like, it's extra work. I just don't. I'm there to sell comic books. I go to Artist Alley to not sell merch, and I understand people getting confused now. Crafts Alley taking over Artist Alley, but I actually go to the Artist Alley to sell comic books. You're giving me an anxiety attack just hearing that, like, snap fitted back. Well, I don't even know half the words you're throwing out right now, and I've worn hats my whole life.
Yeah, that's just it gets pretty crazy. And there are people who, I mean, you'll lose a sale because do you have this size hat? Do you have a 7 for 3/8?
Oh, you don't have a sticker authenticating it as as a 1 of 1, unbent, etc. Oh, this one's got a little bit of a ding in the felt. No, absolutely. And that in itself will always be an issue too, is inventory. Even if it's a button or a sticker and you bring, 50 buttons, let's say, and you're out of your 50 buttons on the first day. Somebody comes back the next day and go, hey, my friend you said you had buttons. Do you have buttons? And that goes back to what we were talking about before. Suddenly you got to carry more T-shirts in that same example, or hats. It'll be like, oh man, well, this hat doesn't fit my head. It's too big. Or it doesn't have this. Oh, your shirt, if it was in black, I would totally get it. But because it's in white, I won't. It's in orange, man. If you had that in like blue, I would totally get it.
Well, here's the little trick.
You have to decide whether or not to do online distribution.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people say that they want something, and then if you can pull it out of the back, they suddenly go, oh, I'll come back. Sometimes they just will say that,
Yeah.
You said you had a trick, Luke?
I got a trick. Yeah, I got a trick. If you buy something, again, you don't get anything for free, and
of course, mailing list or that. Yeah.
But you do get it with something. So if someone wants a button or if they want a particular sticker, I'm like, okay, well, those come with this package. So if like, do you own the other books? If you don't already own the other books, you got to buy it with this package, so like you get it with you can get that thing that you want with the purchase of this other thing that I want you to have. And so that's how I
buy books for a sticker.
No
stickers. Is your sticker game that good that they're like, I'll buy a $10 book to get that $2?
They're not. It's not that good. But I'll be honest with you. Those things are good to upsell the books.
Yes.
Yeah, and upselling is
because the book is always going to be like, yeah, I've got all this other merch stuff, but that stuff just supplements what the book is.
But I just see Luke standing there and be like, no, that sticker comes with every book on my table. It's a $55 thing. If your little girl wants that sticker, it's going to be $57 with that sticker.
It's only 25.
Okay.
Normally it's 50, but for them it's $25.
You get the sticker and you get some trading cards with it too, and you can get one print off the wall.
Okay.
You can
and that's where you get
$25.
Yeah,
like, give me your money.
If I'm at a show, go ahead.
And I think Josh is going to be this type of guy. I don't know about Varian. I don't know about Luke. Who here does a spreadsheet and understands the exact amount of money they make on every single thing they sell, and when they put it together and what they're losing by doing things? Because I'm a big fan of spreadsheets. I don't carry them with me at a con, but I understand how much it costs me, and then I start taking that into account what my tables cost, and then my mind's just like a beautiful mind. I'm like that just all numbers and stuff. So that's why I won't do a hat. I've seen the hat market. The hat market is death. I now understand why people don't sell hats very often at cons.
I did this hat for an add-on for the Kickstarter. It's $30. I had like 2 people say, okay, I want the hat, because I'm like, I'm not losing money on this, but they're paying for the hat plus shipping to their house with it. So it's like, and I'm making $0 off of the hat. It's just, I'm the middleman. I order it and then I mail it.
Well, why do that then? If you can't make money on it, why do it?
Because he's putting his brand is out there.
My brand's out there.
Yeah.
Do you think that actually a hat? I don't know if a t-shirt,
but it works better. This works better than Facebook ads.
Well,
because someone's like, oh, that's a cool hat. Where'd you get it? Oh, well, it goes to this thing, this comic book I read. Oh, really? Well, tell me more about that.
Well, Luke, wouldn't it have to be a cool hat first?
You know what? You could. You know,
He's like, man, I was playing with my dog, having a good time, and you bring me up to talk crap about me.
I did not have to come on here to take this.
No, but seriously, kidding around aside, like, how do you make money? Because that's what this is. I mean, it's an industry, guys. It's not a clubhouse for all of us. Every one of you I know is serious about this business. You want to get into it as an industry, and you want to make profits. If you don't make a profit, you're done. That's it.
Well,
you're out.
I think I'm going to say something that's not very popular right now. Guys, if you are trying to get into Comic Cons, if you're trying to get into art expos, gaming events, anything, and you're trying to promote your own content or promote your fan art or promote whatever, anything that is representative of you as a writer, as an artist, as a decoupageur, whatever your niche is, you will lose money your first 2 or 3 events. It may not be a lot, but you will lose money. And the main reason why is it literally just comes down to logistics. You know, if you do the very first Comic-Con you ever do, and you go and you don't know about, you know, printers that are not on the main strip, like you go to FedEx or you go to Office Depot or Staples and get stuff printed with them. It's not going to be as good a quality that you can get. It's going to be way more expensive. You're going to be in the hole just because you print as much as you think you want to sell for that first show. Same thing with all of your inventory. And a lot of people were like, well, I spent $800 to $1,000 or $3,000 on all of this merchandise, and my table was only $100, but I only made $500. You know, from the boring logistics of it, it's like, yes, you can distribute those costs to other shows for your inventory, but at the same time, it's a learning process. I mean, that's, I think the key thing that we've all kind of touched on is just like, this is going to be a process where you have to figure out what works for you. Luke mentioned it very clearly. It was like, hey, you know, for me, I like having, you know, as much as I can, especially if I'm only promoting the one book, here's my merch. And this is something that I can really get people behind. You know, if you go away from comic books and you go with some of these random sponsorship booths like Verizon or something like that, and they're out there handing you plastic utensil sets. And I'm not exaggerating. This is actually something that at a Comic-Con I got, and it was free. And I was like, sure, why not? But they did the same thing. They were like, hey, just give us your email address. I lucked out because at the very end of it, they were just trying to get rid of their stock so they didn't have to pack it all up. But you know, you got to, unfortunately, that just comes down to is it's a cost of business. And when you turn your passion into a business, you have to be able to compartmentalize that. At least that's my perspective on it.
AARP was taking emails.
Yeah.
AARP. I found it 4 times. Old enough.
And Rob, I will admit I fall short. I don't actually have Excel sheets. I just keep a mental log. And I remember what doesn't sell.
Right? You know your price point on every item, what it costs you to get to just be able to sell it at a show, and then you have to put the cost on top of it. Because you guys are talking about, especially you, Varian, man, like, how has your wife not killed you giving away the hats for $35 for $10?
I don't have spreadsheets. I have bed sheets. When I find that she's wrapped up in them and the blankets, I'm not supposed to come to bed that night, so we didn't make any money. No, but she does all of that. She does all the math, and she doesn't let me see the numbers until sometimes at the end of the show she'll let me see the numbers. The end of the show that day. Then there are times, and then we know, we're like, okay, we need to make X amount tomorrow. What do we need to do? And we take it from a kind of a retail, and I think everyone has been fortunate enough to work in retail at some point. Where
and food and offices, all sorts of fun stuff.
Where your boss walks in and says, "Okay, here is our goal for today. This is the goal. This is how much we're going to make today." And I'm always like, I remember working Toys R Us. Like, how does that work? It's raining outside. No one's coming in here. And you know, you get held accountable for it. But we kind of do it. We kind of say, okay, here's how much we need to make today to make this trip have been, you know, to pay for the hotel room. So you're cutting costs everywhere you possibly can. You're taking deals and doing all type of things. The other thing that I will tell people, Rob, and I know Josh may agree with this too, is that if you're going to put up, like, you want people to be able to talk to you as much as you possibly can at a show. Some people, I know people will say, don't put up a sign of tell them prices. Have them come to you and talk about this book, and you can give them the price. You can get that connection going with them. There are other people who say, actually, you need that menu board up there. I'm only asking this. I'm not going to say any names. But if you have a menu board, please make it clear and legible. Please.
I feel like we're talking about Eeyore right now.
Eeyore? I don't know who Eeyore. I don't know who that is. But just
you're thinking about it. You're like, oh my God, he is.
Yeah. You can't make like the reset prices. Like, here's my 11 by 17s, but if you buy 4 of these, you get it at this price. But if you want to mix and match it, you create confusion. The customer is now considering their pocketbook, and now they're not interested because now they thought about that dirty word, money.
Yep.
And they're like, I'll come back later, and they walk off.
See, what you should do, what I would say, Varian, if you're done. I don't want
I am.
What I would say is that if you put a price on there, that gives you leverage, because that's a starting point. So if they're at a starting point and they begin to talk to you, they've already agreed to your terms.
Mm-hmm.
So now when you're starting to do your packages, when you're starting to do your incentive for buying, when you're throwing in stickers and you're trying to sell a hat and you tell them how your wife's going to kick you out of the house because it was a $35 hat that you're going to give them for $10, you're winning them over because they've started with that established thing. I could not agree with you more. And I've tried this in the past. Putting up packages confuses people. You can write it out so clearly that it is literally like a commandment from God that everyone could follow. And they will get stuck on the wording and be like, but what if and add things that weren't in it? 3 11 by 17s for $10. What if I added a shirt in there? Why would you add a shirt to that deal? You mean on top of the deal? No, I want to replace a shirt with one of the posters. Oh my God.
Well, I don't do things like that, but I do agree. I do put a menu board up, but it's normally the individual prices. So it's like, if you want this phone grip, it's $10. If you want the card set, it's this many dollars. It's this is how much a print costs, and then I'll have just like the one bundle that I'm really trying to sell. Like if you buy this, I'll do the hey, can I tell you about my $30 package or my $30 bundle? But have those set established prices. If someone wants to come up and just buy one sticker and a comic, then they're going to pay the full price for it. But I'm not opposed to that because I'm making money on that. The items are then priced to be able to be sold by themselves so that I'm making money on it. And I think you're right, Josh, that when you first go out, your first couple of shows, you're not going to be profitable because you're going to learn how to sell your stuff. You're going to learn how, you're going to learn the audience. You're going to try to figure out because selling at a con and selling at a local comic shop are two different things.
Oh, absolutely.
The crowd is different. A 1-day con and a 3-day con are two different things. Mm-hmm. If there are cosplayers anywhere around, and if it's just like old back issue comics, completely different crowds and audiences. You've got to know how to sell to them and what product's going to be there. I honestly don't take everything with me. To every show. I determine what's going to go on the table per show. Now that I've got 5 books, this merch stuff takes up less table space because I've got too much of I want to sell that stuff. Plus I try to sell a lot of my one-of-ones. And so I really try to set up that art because honestly, that's me making money twice on my work. Mm-hmm. If I can sell an original. And so I will even put in packages for that. If you're interested in this, I'll tell you what, I'll throw in a second one for half price if you want to buy this. I sell a lot of original art on the smaller shows, like where there's fewer people and it's mostly collectors. They come in, they buy that stuff. Mm-hmm. And but some of these bigger conventions where there's a lot of people and there's some voice actor for My Hero Academia there, I'm not selling hardly any of that stuff. And I've got to push hard just to sell my first issue so someone will try it out. And so you've got to play it by ear, but be creative with it. Value your brand too. Don't undervalue what you've got. Value your brand. If you undervalue it, they will undervalue it. But yeah, I have spreadsheets. My wife comes and she helps. She knows exactly how much, I tell her how much I've spent on this stuff. Like, okay, I can put this, and this with the package. And as long as I'm making this much money on this deal, I'm happy. But then I also kind of use it as a I also look at some other value from some of these conventions. Not all conventions are going to be value for making money. Some conventions are going to be really good for building connections with other people and for brand recognition. So there's a whole lot of things to consider with all of that stuff. But
just for today, we're trying to focus just to not confuse the people watching.
Yeah.
The focus is just the merch today. So and we don't want to get further into table costs and all the hotel costs, because that's a whole different discussion. That's logistics.
That's
and
a mess.
Really should do
That's a nightmare. Yeah.
On logistics, especially after this Comic-Con season where a lot of people are out a good amount of money for canceled hotels, bad flights. Oh my goodness, it's a horror story. Varian, to answer your question about this, and I'm going to mute to yell at Jax for. So you see how my setup is right now in the garage, Varian?
Mm-hmm.
You see at the very top, there's that panel thing, like a picture that's up there.
Yeah.
So this was going to be the new look of my table. So up on top, there'd be that topper, and the topper invites people to ask questions. Like Luke said, invite someone to have a conversation with you. Don't close off the conversation. So that actually explains Advocate Comics, and it splits between all ages and family-friendly versus more adult. I have things in packages that are collector bags. People can ask, well, what's in the bag? Hey, this is a collector's pack. This is how much it goes for. I don't price that. And then on the side of these, I'll use those little arm things, which I actually have one, I think, on the floor over here, and I'll look for it in a second. But it actually pinches on. It'll be holding all the prices of all the comic books in that row. So I will not have to tell anyone about a price of a book anymore. And it'll literally show the book in that. But as a single issue, I won't be doing package deals. Because I want someone to hear, oh, wow, you have 4 books about Barbara Unleashed. That'd be $40. And me to go, oh, no, it's just $30. And you get a sticker, like Luke was saying. So I think you have to have your setup to start a conversation. But some things should be labeled, like especially stickers. I think you have to have them labeled or they're going to take it for free.
Yes.
I think those boards are very important. I do think having the price up there is important because I'll tell you something that happened to me. I was at a con. Guy walked up to me. He grabbed one of my older book that we had stopped printing. He said, "How much is it?" I said, $3. He said, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah." He folded it up, put it in his back pocket, and walked off. He thought I said free. So if I'd had a price up there, maybe we wouldn't have that confusion.
So I had that for you.
Value it, did he? Folding it. Oh,
Yeah, folded it, put it right in my back pocket. I'm like,
Did you go, where's my $3?
Say again?
Did you go, where's my $3?
No, he took off. He was like, "Really? Thanks," and took off. And
I would be like, yo, don't make me beat
That's when you gotta choose that market, whether or not he's gonna be that guy who like throws it back in your face, and then you got to get him kicked out of the con. And
So here's the clip. You can get these on Amazon. Both sides pinch, so if you have a rack, you can just attach this. And it actually comes, believe it or not.
Oh, what's about my comics? My fault. I'm sorry.
What?
You put up the clip. You said if you have a rack, it pinches both sides. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that could be a totally different tonight.
that's for Barbarella when he does the next one.
But no, these are pretty cool because they're actually adjustable like that.
Yeah.
So I can do a lot with them in a show. And it was going to be 2020, and I was going to show off this whole new professional setup, and here I am.
Try 2021, man.
Yeah, no, 2020 was practice for 2021.
Yeah.
It's exactly what it is.
Yeah, I'm just collecting stuff for my con table now.
Yeah, I've redid everything again. I've redone everything now. It's gonna all be different 2021, or maybe even 2020, late 2020. We'll see.
I'm gonna get a new banner.
Yeah, I have new ones as well that I was all prepped to start using. So one of the things with like when it comes to price signs and things like that, it's also how you choose to do it. Like if you're just writing quick Sharpie notes every single time, sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. You know, some people are like, oh, that's tacky, but then you can go the opposite and you can over laminate and you can make it all shiny and distracting or put too much content on it. I mean, it's its own monster. Luke was talking about, hey, when he's selling his one of ones and originals, I'm sure those all kind of vary in price depending on the piece. So what I end up doing in that case from my side is I have a sign that I put behind everything for the originals. But that sign is something that they can pick up and they can read it like this, or they can just leave it there and read it after they've gone through stuff. I've made it out of, in this case, I printed it on metal, but I printed it on a gold, so it was different than what my posters were, but it was easier to read that way. It was less caustic on the eyes. But it's one of those, they have a general idea of what my originals sell for, but they also get first and foremost that, hey, I do custom work. Like that's the very first thing they see on that. But then they have a ballpark for what's there, what I'm selling. You're like, hey, if this sketch cover has a full body on it, it's going to be this much. And if it's this much, it's going to be this much. You know, it's just one of those weird little things where it's like, it just comes down to branding, you know, choosing your merchandise and how you choose the display. I've got these balsa bookshelf displays, and then on some shows, I'll just put them in portfolios, you know, and that comes down to what Luke was saying is you got to make your choice depending on what you have and what kind of space you have, you know, how you're going to choose to represent yourself.
I'll say this, there's a lot of people that are hard on, you know, if you work retail. Now, I was a retail manager. I worked my way up, was loss prevention, was inventory, was a merchandising specialist, and then wound up working up into all management. And I actually managed a retail automotive store for a while. And so it's all about making profit. It's about, you know, your time there, because I also value my time, you know, for making this stuff and for getting the stuff printed up and all those kind of things. But yeah, if you have ever worked in any kind of retail store where you've done any kind of planogram at all, use that information. Use that. That is practice for your convention table. That's practice for your display, because really how you display your stuff is super important. And you don't have to have all the big stuff that Rob has right now. Rob didn't have that when he started out 5-6 years ago. You know,
I didn't need it. But I used to use wire racks, like what you had said, Luke, about trying to fill your table. That's why I started T-shirts. The big problem I did with T-shirts is that this is my suggestion with T-shirt: do a test print before you go out and do a lot. Before you double down and print,
I think that with any merch.
Yeah, check it first. Because you never know how many books, and that's why everyone's like, "Oh, you really should print 1,000 books of your first couple comics." No, print on demand, a few hundred. Don't get stuck with 1,000 copies. There's one book I can get. I already got rid of. The original Fetish Babies is actually out of print now. I think I have all of 50 left, and that's it. It's gone. A hurricane and hundreds of copies later, because we did 1,000 run, and that worked out well, you know. However, my Jack's book, which is almost gone, actually, I'm really proud of. I just found its last box. That's almost gone. But that Monster book, which may survive the hurricane, oh goodness. It was the one that didn't have a problem in the hurricane. That one still have boxes of it, boxes and boxes. And that's not something you want to do. Here's the tip, guys. You want to get it out in the same year. I always say at the end of the year, if I have it left over, I should clearance it out unless it's an ongoing product. If it's something I'm going to continue to carry, then it's great that I have leftovers. I write it off at the end of the year. And then the next year, it helps that year be profitable. But if it's something you couldn't move in a year because it was a bad dud, just get rid of it. Stop trying to carry it around with you. Stop at bargain basement prices. Throw it into a package like Luke said. Do an ultimate collector's pack that's unbelievable at a big show. Big shows are a great place to get rid of things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the time to liquidate what's not working for you. If you have 100 of those little snappy things and no one wants them anymore, Luke, for every comic you buy, you get one free.
Exactly.
You get rid of it. Cycle it out, because do not carry stuff around, because it gets damaged over time. It gets nasty looking, and then suddenly you do have to just throw it out, you know?
My advice is don't hold on to bad ideas. It's okay to have some bad ideas, have some duds, you know, but get rid of those things. You know, I plan on at the end of the year compiling all of the first arc of hybrids into a trade paperback with a bunch of extra things in there. That is going to be my focus of sales for next year, is because I'm already going to start releasing the next issues. I don't want 5 floppies of hybrids, issues 1 through 5, while I'm trying to also sell the trade. I want to sell the trade, or I want to sell the floppies. It's got to be one or the other. Can be both. If people want those floppies, I might have a few of them left over just to sell those. But once that prints through and sold, I'm done printing those unless some other market opens up to reprint those. It's not going to happen. So yeah, you don't need these print, and most successful indie comics creators will tell you don't need to print 1,000 of each book. You just don't need to do that. There's no at this level, there's no need. And there's some people that are very profitable at just printing off 400, 500, 600 at a time through some of these other companies like Comic Impressions and things like that. And they're able to sell them, offer them at a price to be able to make their money off of them first off, and second, they're not going to be stuck with a whole bunch of inventory. So whatever you do, don't make long-term choices for something you don't really know the future is going to be too certain with. Try out your merch in little pieces, try out like I tried out the buttons. I got 50 buttons. They were cheap. It was like $12 for 50 buttons. And did that help? I wanted to find out if it was going to help me get mailing list people, and it did. My mailing list grew. So it's something that I'm going to keep doing is those buttons. Right before a show, I'll get a new exclusive button, and you can pick up a button at that mail, if you sign up for the mailing list. Now, some people write down fake mailing lists. Screw you people that do that. You write down a fake email.
I have a backup email for all of those lists.
You know what I would tell people, and it's just something that we do. Again, like you said, know when you got a bad idea. Like I would never again go invest that heavily into the fidget spinner bottle openers we had. It worked, thankfully. I don't think it'll work ever again. Having said that, I think that what Luke said was very it was right. You give that stuff away with the purchase. Give that stuff away unless you can afford to, like it costs 3-4 cents. You can afford to give everybody one that comes by. If we did that with our beads for a while, if our character's face on the bead, it was a sticker. We did that for a while. That was, and it was super cheap. It cost us nothing. And people love beads. Who knew? I mean, Jerry Springer knew, but I think everybody, again, though, having that retail background, we all kind of know when to clearance something out, when something's not working. And my wife hates doing that because she hates lowering prices of things. Because I'm like, you know what? These, like, you get down to like 20 of an item. You started out with 200. You get down to this last 20, and you've been hauling them around for a year and a half. The baggies are starting to turn yellow. Get rid of them. Get rid of them. Give them away. Whatever you got to do. And the other thing is, did I lose it? I think I may have lost the other thing I was going to say. But yeah, just get rid of that stuff. Clearance it out as quickly as possible for as cheap as possible. Oh, I know what I was going to say too. And when we talk about quality, well, maybe I shouldn't say that. We'll keep it on merch for now. I won't say that. But just make sure that you are putting out quality product, because what you don't want to have happen is that someone sees my comic, they see hybrids a year from now, some guy who owns a t-shirts company, and he goes over to Luke and he's like, hey, I want to license your t-shirts. I'm going to give you X amount of dollars to make t-shirts for your company. And all of a sudden, then he sees the quality of Luke's content, and he's like, Luke's already destroyed the market with cheap t-shirts, and now he doesn't want to, get involved. So keep that in mind when you're making stuff. And then buy Luke's t-shirts. They're not cheap, I promise.
All right, guys, we're going to go around the room, say our goodbyes, and give a last little hint to anyone who has an idea. Pretend you're looking at a new creator right now as you're saying goodbye, and give them your best advice. We'll start with Josh. Go ahead, Josh.
Well, I would have to say that my first bit of advice, or I guess the biggest one, is take a year and spend some time going to your events and things like that, and just seeing what people are selling and what people aren't selling, and the things that you like. And there's a fine line. Like, you don't want to go and ask every single creator, like, where did you get this, or how much did it cost you, or anything like that. Put in the time, put in the research, because you'll feel so much better for it. You'll be more educated, and you'll be able to make choices based on hey, if you want to do a single trade, or if you want to do your book as 150 pages automatically off the bat, if you want to sell originals only, if you want to sell anything, merchandise wise, cups or lanyards or anything like that, spend the time and educate, and don't find the right level, I guess, is what I'm saying, between your passion and being logical about it. Just taking that time. But that would be my advice.
Yeah. Have fun. I think that's the key thing. Comics should be fun. It's just comics. I see too many people arguing over comics. Crying out loud. It's supposed to be fun. So do it if it's fun. Do it if it makes you money. And you determine how profitable it needs to be for you to do it. If it's all about money, then do things that are then don't do original content, because original content won't make you money. But if you're really into that idea that you've got and you're passionate about it, then do whatever feels right for you, and take advice from all of these guys that do it. But some of us get kind of curmudgeon-y, and we've had bad experiences, and maybe you could do a better job of that. But take the advice that you can, file it, and use it as you see fit. Either listen or don't listen. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's you, it's your brand, and you're the one that's got to answer for your pocketbook and your mental health at the end of it. So just make sure you're having fun doing it. If it becomes too much of a job and you hate it, walk away. Life's too short for that crap.
Where can they follow you?
They can follow me at lukestonestudios.com. You can find the link to all of my social media stuff on there. You can also look us up at Hybrids, the Sons of Gods. You can look that up. It's on the internet under Google. You can find it there. Or you can go to starcrosscomics.com and you can go ahead and buy that series. The 5th issue will be out in just a few short weeks.
Oh, and you can just find me at Art of Josh Lyman on Instagram and the Facebook.
And any advice I'd give for anybody coming in the industry: don't do it. It's a trap. No, don't do it. You'll be much happier in computer school, or
don't do it to yourself.
Whatever, just don't do it. No, just again, a lot of advice this year. Obviously, it seems like there's not gonna be a lot of cons for you to go to and learn. So go online, watch shows like this.
Yeah.
People are giving away free advice. They're giving away, what should be college education and how to do this business for free, all on Facebook and YouTube. So do that. And also keep in mind that, things change. You may have the secret sauce to make things work for you. And don't get discouraged, though, because the next year or the next month, that might not work. I had a good row of shows, 3 shows we did really well. The 4th show, we sucked at. For some reason, I can't make a dime in Indiana. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, you can find me on Facebook, Varian Grant. Last Call Comics, it's my publishing company. IndieVolt.com is my website with IndieVolt TV and radio. And on Twitter at KYD_V. That's kid_V on Twitter.
And a few closing remarks from me. First, the yoga pants. I actually like that from Josh Lyman, making it like a handprint right on the butt and have my logo be the inner handprint. But the problem with it, of course, is that one size doesn't always fit all. And remember that when you're making these decisions, don't follow trends. Trends can be dangerous. They can be something that you do. Because remember, if it's a trend right now, by the time you have it up and running, the trend might be over. Do things that make sense for your brand. And speaking of your brand, make sure that you are actually, like everyone said here, creating quality. I can't tell you how often we see things that aren't driven by quality, but driven by need of making money. You got it for half off, and you didn't care who made it, and the shirt lights up the minute someone smokes a cigarette outside, and you get famous for the wrong reason. Don't be that person. No, work with reputable vendors. Get quality items, and don't try to pass off things to your fan base that aren't quality. And as for me and who I am, you can follow me right now in an amazing place on Kickstarter, and you can back an amazing book that for some reason Varian's allergic to backing, and I'm going to show you a video for it right now.
I think somebody just...
An all-ages tale that teaches morals with farts and shows the power of imagination that will entertain everyone in your family, including the parents reading the book. Thank you for hitting play and allowing us to introduce you to Cat Dad and Supermom, the award-winning Farts with Morals storytelling awesome adventure that people seem to love. And we could keep going that way. We could use words that could try to get you to be excited and convinced to buy it, but I'd rather just be honest with you. I'd rather be humble with you and tell you why I created the story. You see that little boy over my shoulder? Right over there, and the other side, the supermom, and the big elephant that farts, all of that is based on my boy. He's a special needs 5-year-old who I love with all my heart. And he has made me a better man and has taught me what unconditional love is. So if this story is about him, the standard had to be higher. That's why I got one of the best artists in the world in Raheel Mohsin. I got Chuck Pinault, who's done such great work as an editor and as a writer himself, to be part of this. Both of them became co-creators because of how much passion went into this. It was about passion for creating a top-notch story that was meant to entertain your entire family, and I think we did that. The rest, they're all keywords. They're all ways to convince you to do it. Truthfully, this is a story that matters to me, and it had to be one of the best stories that I wanted to share with you. It advocates for people who get bullied, and it advocates for the right things to do when you see someone get bullied. It advocates for being a better human being, but it also represents my son. And because of that standard, because of the fact that my son is in this book, it had to be one of the best things I could create, probably in my entire career. Anytime my son is attached to something, it is that high of a standard for me. So if you're looking for a reason to back this Kickstarter, it's because, well, because I love my son, and I wouldn't put anything out with his name on it that wasn't amazing. Thank you for watching, sharing, and backing Cat Dad and Supermom, and Ella Fart never forgets.
All right, everyone, and that's the show. I want to thank Josh, Luke Stone, Varian Grin. I don't know why I didn't use your last name, Josh. Josh Lyman. I want to thank you all. I want to thank Josh publicly for the cool new graphics that we got. We got an upgrade today. We got some cool new graphics for the show. I appreciate that, Josh. There we go. Brought to you by IndieAdvocates.com, part of the OnCon network. And you know what? Just keep being a humble creator who's listening to other people. I listen to everyone on this panel. I take notes when someone says something. I'm going to go try to figure out how to make yoga pants with a spank mark. So, thank you for being on the show, everyone, today. Thank you for tuning in. Stay home, stay safe, wash your hands, and wash everything else, you filthy animal. Just because you wash your hand doesn't mean you can skip a shower. See you.
Just wash it.
I'll see everyone back here tomorrow at 4 p.m. Tonight is Indie Volt Radio at 9 p.m. Geek Out at 9 p.m. on Wednesday, 9 a.m. on Thursday. I noticed today that you're a 9 a.m. person, or a 9 person, Varian. You must be the number 9. And then you have this weekend is the brand new Art of War, right?
Yep. Saturday, Friday night. I'm looking forward to that.
All right, guys. And join Luke Stone when you didn't mention it, Starcross Studios.
StarCrossComics.com.
And Josh, you're going to be on. Were you doing something this weekend?
I'll be on Art of War. I do live art sales and live drawing things over the weekend. That's pretty much it, really. If Varian's got space, I might be on tonight. We'll see.
All right, and that's it, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, all the YouTube channels, including Indie Vault. All the people are on the show, and thank you for being awesome and tuning in today. We'll talk to you soon.